Hello again, Monster Mama 1, 2, 3, 4, and more. Reading aloud. Hold on, sorry, I'm a little too loud. Um, another page, another chapter of The Secret Garden by author Frances Hodgson Burnett. Where are we now? We read the where and no was left. Where we found Mary was orphaned. Mistress Mary quite contrary, where we find that Mary is a bit of a child. She's a little drama llama. Across the moor, where she is taken to England to be taken care of by her uncle, Martha, where she meets the common-spoken and very friendly maid who teaches her a little bit about being independent. The cry in the corridor is where we have heard someone crying. And there should not be a child crying. What mystery. There was someone crying, there was, we insist, even though there are suspicious things afoot. So now we are ready for the key of the garden, for there is a garden that was locked, and there is no door. But how could there be no door to this walled garden? So, we are now going to read the key of the garden. 2 days after this, when Mary opened her eyes, she sat upright in bed immediately and called to Martha, "Look at the moor! Look at the moor!" The rainstorm had ended, and the gray mist and clouds had been swept away in the night by the wind. The wind itself had ceased, and a brilliant deep blue sky arched high over the moorland. Never, never had Mary dreamed of a sky so blue. In India, skies are hot and blazing. This was a deep, cool blue, which almost seemed to sparkle like the waters of some lovely bottomless lake, and here and there, high in the arched blueness, floated small clouds of snow-white fleece. The far-reaching world of the moor itself looked softly blue instead of gloomy purple, black, or awful dreary gray. "Aye," said Martha with a cheerful grin, "the storm's over for a bit. It does like this at this time of year, the other year. It goes off in a night like it was pretending it had never been here and never meant to come again. That's because the springtime's on its way. It's a long way off yet, but it's coming." "I thought perhaps it always rained or looked dark in England," Mary said. No," said Martha, sitting up on her heels in her black lead, among her black lead brushes. "Not the sort." What does that mean?" asked Mary seriously. In India, the natives spoke different dialects, which only a few people understood. So she was not surprised when Martha used words she did not know. Martha laughed as she had done the first morning. "There now," she said, "I've talked broad Yorkshire again, like Mrs. Medlock said I mustn't. Not the sort means nothing of the sort," slowly and carefully. "But it takes so long to say it. Yorkshire's the sunniest place on earth when it is sunny. I told thee that I'd like them more after a bit. You just wait till you see the gold-coloured gorse blossoms, and the blossoms on the broom, and the heather flowering, all purple bells, and hundreds of butterflies fluttering, and bees humming, and skylarks soaring up and singing. You'll want to get out on the sunrise and live out on all day like Dickon does." "Could I ever get out there?" asked Mary wistfully, looking through her window to the far-off blue. It was so new and big and wonderful, and such a heavenly color. "I don't know," answered Martha. "Thou never use thy legs, and thou won't, it seems to me. Thou couldn't walk 5 mile. It's 5 mile to our cottage." I should like to see your cottage." Martha stared at her a moment, curiously, before she took up her polishing brush and began to rub the grate again. She was thinking that the small, plain face did not look quite as sour at this moment as it had done the first morning she saw it. It looked just a trifle like little Susan Ann's when she wanted something very much. "I'll ask Mother about it," she said. "She's one of them that nearly always sees a way to do things. It's my day out today, and I'm going home. I'm glad Mrs. Medlock thinks a lot of Mother. Perhaps she could talk to her." "I like your mother," said Mary. "I should think that did," agreed Martha, polishing away. "I've never seen her," said Mary. "No, that hasn't," replied Martha. She sat up on her heels again and rubbed the end of her nose with the back of her hand, as if puzzled for a moment, and then she added quite positively, "Well, she's as sensible and hard-working and good-natured and clean that no one could help liking her whether they'd seen her or not. When I'm going home to see her on my day out, I'll just jump for joy when I'm crossing the moor." "I like Dickon," said Mary, "and I've never seen him." "Well," said Martha stoutly, "I've told thee that the very birds likes him, and the rabbits, and the wild sheep, and ponies, and the foxes themselves. I wonder," staring at her reflectively, "what Dickon would think of thee." "He wouldn't like me," said Mary in her stiff, cold little way. "No one does." Martha looked reflective again. "How does thou like thyself?" she inquired, really quite as if she were curious to know. Mary hesitated a moment and thought it over. "Not at all, really," she answered. "But I've never thought of that before." Martha grinned a little, as if at some homely recollection. "Mother said that to me once," she said. "She was at her washtub, and I was in a bad temper and talking ill of folk. She turns round on me and says, 'That vixen, that there standing there, that's not thinking like one and thing like that one. How does thou like thyself?' It made me laugh, and brought me back to my senses in a minute." She went away in high spirits as soon as she had given Mary her breakfast. She was going to walk 5 miles across the moor to the cottage, and she was going to help her mother with the washing and do the week's baking, and enjoy herself thoroughly. Mary felt lonelier than ever when she knew she was no longer in the house. She went out to the garden as quickly as possible, and the first thing she did was run round and round the fountain flower garden 10 times. She counted the times carefully, and when she had finished she felt in better spirits. The sunshine made the whole place look different. The high, deep blue sky arched over Misselthwaite, as well as over the moor, and she kept lifting her face and looking up into it. Trying to imagine what it would be like to lie down on one of those little snow-white clouds and float about. She went into the first kitchen garden and found that Ben Weatherstaff working there with 2 other gardeners. The change in the weather seemed to have done him good. He spoke to her of his own accord. "Springtime's coming," he said. "Can thou smell it?" And I thought, "Smell it?" Mary sniffed and thought she could. "I smell something nice and fresh and damp," she said. "That's the good rich earth," he answered, digging away. "It's in the good humor, making ready to grow things. It's glad when planting time comes. It's dull in the winter when it's gotten out to go. In the flower gardens out here there will be stirring down below in the dark. The sun's warm in 'em. You see bits of green spikes sticking out of the black earth after a bit." "What will they be?" asked Mary. "Crocuses and snowdrops and daffodil lilies. How's that? Never seen them? No. Everything is hot and wet and green after the rains in India, said Mary. And I think things grow in a night. These won't grow in a night, said Weatherstaff. They'll have to wait for 'em. They'll poke up a little pet higher here, and they'll push out a spike more there, and then curl in a leaf, and they'll stay in the moors. Then that. You watch 'em. I am going to, answered Mary. Very soon she heard the soft rustling of wings again, and she knew at once that the robin had come again. He was very pert and lively, and hopped about so close to her feet, and put his head to one side, and looked at her so slyly that she asked Ben Weatherstaff a question. Do you think he remembers me? Remembers thee? Said Weatherstaff indignantly. He knows every cottage, cabbage stump in the gardens, let alone the people. He never but seen a little windshield here before, and he is set on your attention. There's no need to try and hide anything from him. Are things stirring down below in the dark in the garden, where he lives? Mary inquired. What garden? Grunted Weatherstaff, becoming surly again. The one where the old rose trees are, she could not help asking, because she so much wanted to know. She wanted so much to know. Are all the flowers dead, or do some of them come again in the summer? Are there ever any roses? Ask him, said Brother Weatherstaff, hunching his shoulders toward the robin. He's the only one that knows. No one else has been inside it for 10 years. 10 years was a long time, Mary thought. She had been born 10 years ago. She walked away, slowly thinking. She'd begun to like the garden just as she'd begun to like the robin and Dickon and Martha's mother. She was beginning to like Martha, too. That seemed a good many people to like when you were not used to liking. The thought of the robin as one of the people, she went on her walk outside the long, ivy-covered wall. Over what she could just see the treetops. And the second time she walked over, it was all through Ben Weatherstaff's robin. She heard a trip, and a twitter, when she looked at the bare flower bed at her left side, where he was hopping about and pretending to peck things out of the air. And that happened. Let's see. Let's see. Yep, but she knew he had followed her, and the surprise so filled her with delight that she almost trembled a little. You do remember me, she cried out. You do. You are prettier than anything else in the world. She chirped, talked, and coaxed, and he hopped and flirted his tail and twittered. It was as if he were talking, his red waistcoat like satin, and he puffed his tiny breast out, and it was so fine and so grand and so pretty that it really was as if he were showing her how important and like a human person a robin could be. Mistress Mary forgot that she had ever been contrary in her life when he allowed her to draw closer and closer to him, and bend down and talk and try to make something like robin noises. Tweet, 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 tweet. Oh, and to think that he should actually let her come near to him, as that she knew nothing in the world could make her put out her hand toward him or startle him in the night's tiniest way. He knew it was because he was a real person. Only only nicer than any other person in the world. She was so happy that she scarcely dared to breathe. The flower bed was not quite bare. It was bare of flowers because the perennial plants had been cut down to their winter rest. There were tall shrubs and low ones that grew together at the back of the bed, and as the robin hopped about under them, she saw him hop over a small pile of freshly turned over dirt. So, I'm going to talk about this for a moment. Birds and people are different creatures, and even if you're getting a cute little charm off eBay, if it is poorly made, that may be a factor. But yep, there you go. The robin hopped. Okay, so let's see here. Tall shrubs and low ones that grew at the back of the bed, and as the robin hopped about under them, she saw him hop over a small pile of freshly turned up earth. He stopped to look for a worm. The earth had turned up because a key had come out from one of the cereal boxes. But I'll let him know. So, tweet, tweet, tweet. Alright. Mary looked at it, not really knowing why the hole was there. And she looked as though something almost buried to the management for your savings account. But what's in the... And as she looked, she saw something almost buried in the newly turned soil. It was something like a ring of rusty iron or brass. And when the robin flew over, because it has paying on its delivery, she put out her hand and picked the ring up. I'm falling asleep. But yes, and the robin flew up to the tree nearby. She put out her hand and picked the ring up. It was more than a ring, however. It was an old key, rusted with time. Mistress Mary stood up and looked at it with almost frightened face as it hung from her far door. Mistress Mary stood up and looked over. But yeah, so we're having a castle that we're decorating. Meow, 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 meow. But yep. Okay, Mary looked at it, not really knowing why the hole was there. But yeah, okay. Oh, she got the key. Looked at it had been buried a long time. Mistress Mary stood up and looked at it with a almost frightened face as it hung from her finger. Perhaps it has been buried for 10 years, she said in a whisper. Perhaps it is the key to the garden. And that is the end of the chapter, which wasn't coming anytime soon since Monster Mama was falling asleep. I do apologize. Thank you so much for your patience, and you have a wonderful day.